Positive vibration. This is Major, and welcome to Major TV in conjunction with news, facts, and comments. If you watch part 1 and part 2, I spoke about Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop, a historian, scientist, a linguist. He has so many accolades. I can go on and on and on. But basically, he kind of led he led in the groundwork for many Black historians, scholars, and what have you that followed his trail of documented proof. So in my attempt to share information that I feel is much needed, this is not brand new. It's been out there. Hopefully you know about it. If not, we will talk about it. Today going to be Unsung Black Heroes, Part 3, Black Spirituality and Religion. And why I want to speak about this, I know as in our community, we are very, very separated by our spiritual beliefs. And there's a lot of opinions, a lot of arguments, a lot of who's right, who's wrong, and what have you. And even though I had been familiar with the person I'm about to speak about, and I have read some of his books, but to hear him speak so candidly about African origins, history-wise, religion, culture, it was like, wow, he's no joke. And I'm going to share my screen. And I was reading just to bring context who he is, but I'm not going to go into that because what I didn't like about this whole situation with Wikipedia, they went so far as trying to dispute different things about him, right? Which I won't read it. You can have the privilege of reading, but I'm speaking about the great late Dr. Yosef Ben Jochannan. Yusuf Alfredo Antonio Ben Jochannan was born December 31st, 1918 to March 19, 2015. Referred to as Dr. Ben, was an American writer and historian, considered to be one of the more prominent African scholars by Black nationalists. And they speak about while mainstream scholars such as Mary Lefwich dismissed him because of his historical inaccuracies in his work, as well as disputes about authenticity of his educational degrees and academic credentials. And when I looked at this woman who made these claims and what have you, the first thing hit me was prove him wrong in what he's writing about. Prove him wrong in what he's talking about. Even if you want to go back and say, well, they can't prove. We talking about way in the early 1900s when he was born, and education and what have you. But we know how these Europeans try their best to discredit anything that counters the myths and lies they perpetuated for years. And now they're being challenged by these brothers. They're trying to find a reason to discredit him. But in reading his book, African Origins of the Major Western Religions, book right here, I'll read an excerpt and be patient. Because of their mental enslavement to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, African Americans who have for one reason or another been forced to abandon their own indigenous religions need to know their role in either of these three. As a person of African origin, I feel that it is my obligation to enter this field where so many non-Africans have before me entered to speak and write about me. In so doing, I shall show that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are as much African as they are Asian in origin, and in no sense whatsoever Europeans as a little Western religions suggests that the terms Semitic and Hamitic, as they are presently applied to the early founders of these religions, are racist in character and intent. The sole purpose is to deny the existence of that which Europeans and European Americans call Negro, African south of the Sahara, and Bantu, among other such nomenclatures of attempt and development of religion and thought in ancient North Africa, particularly Size, Egypt. We call Egypt Size. But the fact still remains with respect to the origin of religion that there would be no Egyptian civilization, high culture, had the Africans, the so-called Negroes, Upper Nile Valley in Central Africa not migrate north along with more than 4,100,000 miles long the Nile River into Solace. Equally, there could be no Judaism, Christianity, Islam, the daughter, granddaughter, or great granddaughter of African god Ra and the mistress, all three being outgrowths of Egyptian religion, as shown in the coffins and pyramids text in the Book of the Dead, Osiris. I will start right here. And I read this when I was reading the book, and I read that it stuck with me that I had to go back and just share it. And this basically is in the prefix, actually, and that's page 6. So before I go into actually playing a video of him speaking, giving a lecture, understand that there are going to be some things he said that may be considered offensive. There could be things he said or talk about that will make some people feel uncomfortable. Some people feel a certain kind of way. From what I know about him in my research, he is from Africa. He's a black Jew, descendant of the Hebrews from Africa, but he's a native of the motherland. And his accounts is based on his research of going to Egypt, Israel, and various parts of Africa and whatnot. And he talks about the Bible, the missing the Bible, the fabrication of some things, and the unclarity and whatnot, right? And he goes hard. He's humorous, and his biggest thing is he's trying to make people look at it like this: blind faith versus intelligent conclusion. Blind faith versus intelligent conclusion. And he bases on his research, his travels, him seeing with his own eyes. And he specifically talked about the three major religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And you'll be surprised. And some of the books he's talking about, like the Book of the Day, I've read the book. Some of these books can be very boring, you know what I'm saying? They can be very technical in reference to words, big words, and stuff you don't know, and go into like the origin of the word and what have you. He's very eloquent. He speak Hebrew and everything too. So he's not just somebody just talking about something like some of us may do or writing about something. He's actually descendant of the Hebrews and a black Jew. And I've seen he didn't got into it with rabbis and whatnot, in reference to just debates and whatnot, right? To me, I believe he clearly won. Just go look him up. Like his nickname is Coin Dr. Bim is Dr. Yosef Ben Jochannan. There is things about what he talk about, I think is very interesting, right? He speaks about plagiarism. He speaks about where the 10 Commandments come from. He talk about the 42 laws of Ma'at, right? He talks about the misinformation and how Greeks distorted a lot of things. And see, I don't know why in our community will believe we have to believe in something, right? And I have no issue with that. But when there haven't been enough of time to really research, there haven't been enough of time to really understand what's really going on, right? And he explained to you why all of Malay people have these different belief systems, religions, and what have you, and that they don't really want to give Africa the credit. And for me, I don't understand that we're in a situation whereas we can believe whites lied about everything when they come down to the Bible, when they come down anything dealing with spirituality, especially when they write about it. And I have my personal opinion about the Nephilims and all this stuff here. And when I heard somebody speak about it, I called them out on it because that was all dispel the fact that they couldn't believe melanated people built Egypt. And they don't understand the connection between Egypt and Ethiopia, which is this evidence. And what's so sad, and I'm gonna conclude before I play this video of him speaking about religion, and Black people. We debate religion, spirituality, the Bible, the Quran, and what have you. Then a lot of this wasn't like authentic as far as coming from the original source. Been watered down and given to us to believe. I don't knock nobody for what they believe in. I'm not about trying to condemn nobody. I'm not going to debate with nobody neither because I'm on my spiritual journey and I'm on my walk to get more light to shine, in my life and shine with others. But I've heard it from the white man. I've heard it from people that I know didn't do the research. That's telling what someone else told me. And look what Malcolm X said, right? Malcolm X said to lecture to young people. He said young people need to read, research, and find out things on their own and not go off what adults told them. You know why? A lot of us dealing with hand-me-down information. Hand-me-down what they believe to be true. And we personally attest to our parents, people around us, just really sharing with their mom, grandmother, whomever told them, right? So for me, why not want to know more? Why not want to search the truth? And that's why I want to do Unsung Black Heroes, because there were people who paved the way for a lot of things that we hear people saying right now on YouTube, on social media. There were people right now today that there were people right now today that speak about various subjects that come from somewhere. And sometimes when it's translated today, people tend to put a twist to it. But I believe that we should find the truth and then understand if somebody is being authentic or they're just watering it down to us and creating whatever theory or whatnot. Without further ado, I will bring up this lecture by Dr. Ben. Please enjoy.
Thank you for that resounding welcome, and to thank the young ladies and young men who made it possible for my coming here after quite a while to address you. When people speak of religion, but before I go into that, let me equally pay tribute to the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. Brother Garvey, although doing his utmost to bring to our people the cognizance of the African heritage and to ask as many as would go and return back home, kept in mind the need for spirituality. However, he was unable to deal with it in terms of an African base. Just he was unable to have people accept the term African in its entirety. When you think of the name of the organization, it will tell you the struggle the men had in Jamaica, in the Caribbean. He started an organization by the name of African Communities League. But when he came to the United States, we were not ready for the word African, though we were allegedly ready to go home. We accept ourselves being Negro, but the continent being Africa. Quite a contradiction. Mr. Garvey made the compromise because it was more important to have the organization than equivocate over the name. Of course, up to shortly before his death in London, when I visited him, like many of us, he came to lecture at Africa House. And myself, a youngster, I think I was the youngest in that house that day. There were men like Krumah, Azikwe, Awolo, Nyomboro, and names like that, most of whom are now dead. When he stated that that was one of the drawbacks he had, the fact that he could not have his organization named in its proper way as the people of the organization. And I need to say, another thing that Mr. Garvey was ticklish about was the fact that he had to name an organization, his religion, in a similar manner as he had named others and give titles that were so similar as the European. But at the time our people were not ready to have other names other than that which Europeans used. I don't think we've changed much since that time. I think in some contexts we've gotten worse. So I'm going to speak this evening in terms of these three different religious groups. One of the problems is that we have gone from the religious basis of religion, not even the theosophical basis of religion we maintain. Most of us treat religion as if it's a definite thing. When we say Adam and Eve, we think that there was a fellow named Adam and there was a woman named Eve. Literally. We don't understand that it's a theory of a group of Hebrews writers who were not there with Adam and Eve. I know you're going to question me, but then if Adam is the first man, nobody's there with Adam. If Eve is the first woman and the second person, it's only two of them. There's no recorder. Nobody there is taking down the record. There is no history or record showing that either of these people had a language they could read and write. Obviously, they must have started Gu Ga Ba. Or the child, she must have said Adam, and he must have said Eve, and somebody might have said Steve, and who knows? And the conversation went on. But the truth of the matter people can't understand is there was no factual, historical Adam and Eve. And it's the hardest thing to get our people to understand. They do not understand either that God or the deity is a concept. Nobody been there and see a God doing anything. It is the belief of man. Nothing wrong with it. Go ahead and believe it. But what I'm interested in is that we understand the difference between belief and knowledge. I know that I'm standing here. I'm not going to argue the question with you. I know this. I don't believe I'm standing here. I know. I believe somebody is standing outside behind this wall named Jane with a red coat on. I believe so. I'm not going to bet on it. I won't bet a penny because I don't have the fact. I believe so. I believe that when I die, I'm going to resurrect. I'm not going to bet. I could bet you. I bet you $1 million now to $1. Because if I die, you're not going to collect before you. And if you die, I'm not going to collect. So if both of us die at the same time, I can't neither go collect. Because I haven't seen anyone die, get up and come back and say how it was on the other side. That's your belief. You may die and find out that God is a woman from Puerto Rico drinking green whiskey. Now you're in trouble. You're in a lot of trouble. Now, if we could only understand then that whatever you believe is just that, a belief. I hope you're correct, and I wish you good luck. You will know when you croak. That will not be a belief after then. If there is a hereafter, you will know. If there isn't a hereafter, you have wasted time. So, all right. So, if we could understand ourselves before I even get into the meat of the thing, we will not be in any trouble. It's appropriate that we should be in a place such as this, because we've just left the hall out there, downstairs, and of course there's another hall upstairs. Much of the articles, or many of the articles, and many of the artifacts you have seen upstairs are based upon the concept of not religion, because the ancient Africans had no religion as such, but the theosophical concept of a deity or deities. Deities who were male and female. I think one of the unique thing about the ancient Africans along the Nile in particular, since that's what I'm going to deal with, is that they did not have the sickness of Western man and Arab man. The sickness of believing that only the male character can be a deity. They were not corrupted in the belief of the inferiority of the woman. They saw both parties being and accepted that wherever there was a god, there was equally a goddess. Consistent with their belief in the law of opposite, or equilibrium. In other words, for anything to be balanced, they believed that it had a central point, a point of balance, and there were the extremities at both sides of that point of balance, whether it's up or down, and if it was diagonal, it equally was balanced and the hypotenuse. The ancient Africans along the Nile, as a matter of fact, saw their spirituality being scientific, for they based it in the logic of mathematics. Not mathematics coming from religion, to the, but to the contrary, the opposite. That what you call today religion, an organized body, an organization for the benefit of spirituality, and we don't even see it that way. The ancient Africans did not use that term. It is strictly European and Asian and certain groups of Asians who have carried their concept, their theosophical concept, into organized religion. As organized religion came in, there came the corruption to spirituality. Because people started to get paid for doing the work of spirituality, and therefore were more interested in projecting the jobs than speaking about the deity. Let us take the background for what I'm speaking about, and let us take a timeline in order for you to follow me and understand what I'm speaking about. Based upon available records to us, and since I have no contact with outer space, with angels or gods or goddesses, and I have no Ouija board that I deal with, or tarot cards or tea leaves or anything like that. Believe me, I don't deal with anything like that. I'm lost when it comes to anything like that. I must deal with documents of the past. My records, and when I speak to you, it is because I have gone to Egypt, to Israel, to India, to you name it, wherever they got it. And I've gone to see for myself. Because going into libraries and museums are not enough for me. I am an inquisitive person. I go, and when that's not enough, I start digging. I get pick and shovel and get others with me to dig and find that which may have been buried over thousands of years. To find the truth. To me, there is no truth that's permanent. Truth today may be changed tomorrow. What is right today may be proven wrong tomorrow. Therefore, anything today, I am open for change tomorrow. In such, then, let us take the oldest to the youngest in terms of documentation of what I've been speaking about. Basically, I will be speaking about the religiosity or the form of religiosity that came down the Nile, not gone up the Nile. When I speak of the Nile, I'm speaking from Uganda in terms of the White Nile, Egypt in terms of the Blue Nile. The spirituality that I'm going to speak about comes from the people from what would be today northeast Zaire, ancient Manicongo. I am dealing with the smallest people on record, the Twa and the Hutu, which Europeans call Pygmy. Along with those people, those who migrated from the area, Grimaldi, that went to the most southern tip today, which was called at one time Monomotapa, and that's the name I still call it, in spite of who want to call it other names today. Because if it was good enough, the ancient Africans, in terms of this, the name of their country, Monomotapa, I still call it Monomotapa, in spite of the fact that the Portuguese said that the Monomotapa was a bad man. Therefore, some Africans feel that they must change the name to suit and to satisfy the modern ones. I still call it Monomotapa. I will deal with the Grimaldi as well as the people called Khoi and Kalahari. I reject the name Bushman and Hottentot. Coming from the center of Africa again, down north, down the Nile, the same set of people I will call, as they have called themselves, Sebenetos, when they are in Egypt. Those are the people that give us the oldest documentation of theosophy anywhere in the entire world. You can bring from me anything you want theory, and Babylonia, Sumner, and any one of them. I am from Missouri when it comes to this. Show me some evidence. Show me any artifacts from Babylonia or Sumner that is more ancient than these people, and I will change my talk and apologize to everyone from now on that I was in error. Until such time, all the universities of the world, black, white, pink, green, technicolor, and rainbow, could go to hell in terms of documentation. Therefore, until you bring a book of theosophy older than the book of the coming forth by day and by night, and present it to me so I can look into it, then it means that the Africans along the Nile had and have the oldest collection of spiritual works, otherwise called a Bible. The word Bible is a collection of spiritual writings, and that's all it means. It don't say a collection of facts, a collection of truth, nothing. It says a collection of spiritual writings. It could be lies, it could be the fact, it could be anything. A collection of spiritual writings. That's all it means. Thus, it means that if you went to the bathroom and you needed a piece of paper, you didn't have any other paper, use the Bible. That's all it is, a collection of writings. Buy another one. No, that's all. You people scared to touch it. You people scared for it to fall down on the ground. So what? If it falls, so take it up and use it again. Any other book falls, you're not worried about it. You make it. You enslave yourself. You imprison yourself with these nonsensical things. That's the first one. We can use this and find that we can put this to about 4,200 or 4,100 before the Common Era, which will put us at the first dynasty, not the first year, make sure, of Egypt or any other nation along the Nile. For it is in 4100 BC or BCE, we note that there are already revisions in this book. Why 4100? Because that is the date that many people did not say 4100 BC because there was no Christ when he was alive, wrong, not Jesus Christ. But if you use the time that he gave from the first dynasty up to when he lived, the 30th dynasty, if you add up the pharaohs and the amount of years served, it will come to 4100 years before there's somebody called Jesus the Christ. If you use other writers, of course, other European writers, not other because he was Egyptian, they will differ from 3100 all the way to 5000 and add before the Common Era, such as Bogash, Budge, even Breasted here, and others, Mariette, Champollion de Pigette, and all these other fellows who dabbled in Egyptology. The next closest to that in terms of age that is being used of the three religions that play a part in our thinking process would be that of the Hebrews, or Yehuda, or Judah, or Jehovah. Any way you want to call it is okay with me. I am not worried about semantics today. That would be about the best. This is the year 5000 and add of the Hebrew calendar. That would include from the time of the mythical Adam and Eve. And that we could tell you why we don't need to deal with that, because Adam and Eve are concepts that came out of the Hebrew Torah from the Hebrew Sanhedrin, that is the educational center of the Hebrews. And that did not open its doors until about 700 before the Common Era, attributed to an African called Moses, because you said that Moses was born in the city of Goshen in Egypt around the time believing Tutankhamun was on the throne at that time. Akhenaten had already died about 50 years before Moses was supposed to be born. So we don't even have to worry him about time, because that is the 18th dynasty. Yesterday in history, comparatively speaking. Because Abraham himself did not bring any theories to Judaism. The superstar of Judaism is Moses. He's the theoretician that is going to give most of the basic things. Forget about Genesis, because Genesis was the last book in the Hebrew Bible, though it's the first book listed. They had 4 books, and Rabbi Agrippa and Rabbi Hillel argued the point that how we are going to have an Exodus, we leave in some place and we didn't get here yet. So he added a book called Genesis, beginning. Okay. The second book in terms of this, in the timeline, would be Christianity, coming at approximately 1992 years ago, -4. Because the Christians forget to put the 4 years that Justinian dropped when he had the Ethiopian Etba to reform the calendar so that it would jump in the proper Jubilee year. They had to chop off 4 years. So sorry for you, instead of Jesus being 33, he's in fact 37. So, but I know that's going to mess up the Masonic brothers. You will not have 33 degrees anymore. You will have to add 4 more to make it 37. And now you'll have a lot of trouble with St. John's Day or any other such days. That will take care of that. Islam, the youngest of the three, those three. Christianity, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. Islam is the baby of the three in terms of years. You see, we talk a lot and we wishfully want things to be what we want it to be, and we make it that way. Because we seem to forget that Muhammad, M-O-H-A-M-E-T, not M-A-D, no M-E-D. Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the grandson of an Ethiopian woman, member of the Chorus people, a tribe as some people prefer to say. It was not until 622 of the Christian calendar, Christian year, that he challenged the religion in Mecca. Driven out of Mecca with his 3 companions, Haksat, Kobad ibn Rabad, otherwise called Bilal, Umar the Great, and Abu Bakr, they fled to the outside of the city of Medina, northwest of Mecca, where there at the oasis of Yatrib established the religion today called Islam. So that is the chronological order in which these religions or theosophical concept or way of life, you call it anything you want in semantics, it doesn't matter to me, as long as it means what we mean. Let us then look at the fundamental principle that started all of them. First of all, you must have people. The concept of people before you have religion. Religion, people are more important than God. Without people, you don't have God. Nobody to tell you there's a God. It's people that told everybody there's a God. You haven't met a God that told you there are people. All our concepts dealing with the deity come from a man or a woman. There was one time that women wrote. In Egypt, women also wrote. In Judaism and Christianity and Islam, women aren't in that position to be writing nothing. Sometime up to now, in Islam, women can't preach. In most of Christianity, women can't preach. And definitely, in most of Judaism, women can't preach. We didn't have that problem along the Nile. There was the priest and the priestess. The Africans always know where he came from. He realized that he didn't come out of a man's rib cage, that he came out of a vagina, came down through the vagina, all the way back up in from a womb down to a vagina. And of course, the placenta played a major role of his heaven. He didn't look up in the air for heaven. He knew where heaven was. He came out and he went back. Now, these are the realities. The reality I'm speaking about is the reality in which the Africans said that God Kunum made man on his potter's wheel out of clay. As a matter of fact, when you go to Egypt, you go to the temple of Kunum at a place called Esna in southern Egypt. It is in bad repair now, but since you're not going to see the Kunum drawing, you're going to see just 4 empty walls. I don't waste time to go there anymore. But I go to a place called Angelica Island. They now call it Philae Island. And there you will see the temple of Aset, or Isis. And at the Mamisi, the bird house, on the walls you will see God Kunum making man and woman on his potter's wheel out of clay, which was copied later by the Jews, except the potter's wheel. Jehovah is going to steal the whole thing and left out the potter's wheel. Not even a good thief. He forgot the wheel and kept only the clay and something. That's why his people are messing up all the time, because they missed the way they should have been made with the potter's wheel. Of course, God, Ptah, is the God in charge of making gods. Kunum made man with two spirits. See, when Jehovah, Jesus and Allah was taking over the daddy's work, poor fellows didn't write down the thing correctly, because they forgot that man has two spirits, two souls, according to the first teaching. The heart soul, which stays with the body, or the cat, the heart soul being the cat. That when the man died, it stood with his soul according to the ancient teaching. But his back, the spirit soul, the mind, intelligence, went on to the next world to pursue goddess Ma'at, justice, the African woman. Always justice, goodness, everything that it makes for a peaceful relation is symbolized by the goddess, the woman. That is right. I mean, it should be that. Some fellows don't understand that came from woman. They thought they come from man, but that's all right. That's why they still got the rumor going. I made a baby last night. When you made a baby last night? He passed a baby. Your scrotum don't have no babies. It got some sperm, and some of the sperms are sick. You all can't make, some of you can't make nothing. So I don't know what you're talking about. Babies are made in women only, not even homosexual male. They're trying, but they haven't been successful, even with the operation. Now let's get it straight. We need to get things very clear before we leave. Now, we see this. We got the history of it. The point is that I can carry you to Egypt and show you everything I'm talking about. You carry me to Jerusalem or any place in Israel, show me what you're talking about. Carry me to Mecca, except the mosque, show me what you're talking about. So I'm going to stick with what I got because I got the proof. You got the belief, I got the proof. Now, as a matter of fact, I don't have to go to Mecca or Jerusalem or Bethlehem. I could go back upstairs or downstairs and show you. Now, in this thing, we got to stop right here. When we stop at Abydos, a place called Abydos, again, there is a big temple. And there are a number of people right here. I carried you and show you what I've been telling you. Here is goddess Aset, Isis, becoming pregnant by an immaculate conception. And you see the holy sperm being ejaculated into her by God Asaru, which you call Osiris. On the other wall, the opposite wall, you see her on the birth chair with an elongated, impregnated breast, giving birth to God, her virgin-born child, which is to be copied 4,000 years later by Mary, Joseph, Jehovah, and anybody else for Jesus. I mean, you went and see it. You saw it. You not only read about it, but you saw it in the stone wall. dug up. Not only did you see that, you saw where the early Christian and the early Muslim tried to dig out the evidence but couldn't. You saw that in a number of temples. Besides the one at Abydos, you equally saw it at the temple of Hathor at Dendera, where they didn't take the chisel and try to destroy it. Here they took the soot because they couldn't reach it. And now the soot is falling off and the evidence is getting clearer and clearer every day. I don't know what people want. When we are taking our trips to Israel and Mecca, why don't we include the whole church, the whole synagogue, the whole mosque to Egypt, down the Nile, and to look at those places? When we are going to the Holy Land, why not go to the first Holy Land in history at Abydos? We can't, because I heard some young people today saying that they were not Africans, they were what, lost sheep, I think they call themselves, and that the reason they weren't is because Egyptians sold their people in slavery. They were Hebrew Israelites. Who sold their people in the first place? Had they known their history, they would have known that not a single Jew was under the rule of a single Egyptian in the first place. When the Hebrews came into Egypt, allegedly, according to the Torah, Egyptians were controlled, conquered by a group of people calling themselves Hyksos, or shepherd kings. It was the 13th dynasty when they showed up calling themselves Haripo or Haribu and other such names, the English version being Hebrew. Now you either know the historical data or you don't. I was not taught by my father, and I know from experience, if you don't know, shut up. And go and find out. Then come back and start talking about it. You can't tell him about you got faith, blind faith, and talk like a jackass. Blind faith doesn't give you no intelligence. Blind faith just means you're still stupid. Now let us go on. We have to deal with the fact that the concept that we are talking about today in the synagogue, that we will talk tomorrow in the church, that we talk Friday in the mosque, are nothing more than plagiarized, rehashed concepts. Let us see. You cannot, if you're Christian, you're a Jew, or you're Muslim, you cannot give me any moral dogma within your religious concept that goes back before Moses in terms of yours. Because you said that Moses gave to the world the concept of the 10 commandments. I don't have to bring in any evidence. I'm going to use Moses himself, as the proof to show that that can't be correct. Moses is charged with murder before he reaches Mount Sinai, where he is to receive the 10 commandments. The Pharaoh, whether it's Ramesses, most people say it's Ramesses, or whether it's Ramesses' father, Setai I, or whether it's Ramesses' son, Merinptah. You see Merinptah in the picture there, beating his enemy, killing his enemies. Regardless of either, one, the Pharaoh challenges Moses and going to kill him based upon the Hebrew Torah. And the law he's using, Moses committed murder. He killed one of the Pharaoh's soldiers. His brother Aaron is charged with stealing from the treasury. There's a law against stealing. They're not going to reach Mount Sinai until 40 years later before they're going to get the law. A law against stealing, a law against murder, and 10 such laws, but they're going to leave out 32 more such laws used in Egypt. Moses, when he's going to do this, is born there in Africa, in Egypt. He's the sole brother. He goes to school in Egypt from age 7 when he gets his circumcision as he enters the Grand Lodge, and that is based upon the Jewish teaching itself, not mine. Jewish writers wrote this down. And at age 7, since then all the boys who went to the school had to enter at age 7, he studied there for 40 years without going home. The several liberal arts, engineering, law, medicine, and so on, he studied there and became a priest. The Torah said he was learned in the ways of an Egyptian priest. What other way you going to learn it? He's Egyptian, he's never been anywhere else. Never been to school, he's learning Egyptian education. And the things that I stated is what a priest had to do. He's 85 years old already when he finds out that he's a Jewish. For 85 years of his life, he doesn't know he's Jewish. Certainly, he's raised by the king. The king's daughter find him, the princess, and the king is killing all of the little boys who aren't Hebrew, who aren't Egyptian. He looked like any other Egyptian that I know in the room here, and so the king doesn't ask his own daughter, how come you bring back a little girl, a little boy child? I mean, when did you get pregnant? Who made you pregnant? I mean, can you imagine the king ain't saying nothing about this? Somebody made his daughter pregnant, no marriage, no nothing, and the king doesn't say a thing about it. I mean, you got to use your head about this story. Your daughter come in the house with a baby. You gonna ask, well, how? You gonna turn Indian or something? How? Let's be rational about this now. Well, all this, we got a set of laws. Not only this, we got another set of laws. We got a set of laws that when a person dies, they must go to another woman, a woman with a goddess with a feather always in the center of her head, symbolically, Ethiopian feather, ostrich feather, called Ma'at, where people have to go and give the admonition that they have lived according to these 42 laws. Millions of people died before Moses who have gone and given this admonition. Those 10 commandments plus 32 more already. There is a common behavior pattern, an obligation which has to be said by the people. The people are saying, I believe in the one and only God, Aten, A-T-E-N. There is no Moses yet. The man who they're following is a man called Amenhotep IV, who changed his name to Akhenaten. That should bring us to the 18th dynasty. There is no Moses yet. You could find this in the race section of the Book of Coming Forth by Day, by Night, otherwise called the Book of the Dead by Birch. And there in the Osirian drama, you will see all of the 42 laws. There is another set of laws and rules by the Pharaoh Amenemop, I-M-E-N-E-M-E-O-P-E, the third, which Solomon is going to come later and plagiarize, steal and plagiarize, almost word for word. You could read the Songs of Solomon, compare them to the teachings of Amenhotep, and you see where that fellow stole the man's word. 1,000 years before Solomon, this man is to write these things. Now, what else? You can't talk about resurrection. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam speaks of resurrection. But let us go back to the temple of Setewan at Abydos, or the temple of Goddess Hathor at Denderah, to look at the resurrection on the opposite pole of Isis receiving the Immaculate Conception. Look at the opposite side, and you see Osiris in the resurrection, the state of the original resurrection, talking about the penis from a dead level to a perpendicular. The penis, when it was cut off by one of the 14 pieces, cut up by his brother Typhon, who had killed him the first time by hanging him, the second time by cutting up into 14 pieces, the one piece being lost because it had been eaten by the Nile catfish. His wife, the faithful wife, Isis, I'm using the Western term to make it easier for you, carrying the god of the dead to reconstruct him. That's Kepra. And reconstruct him, but had to resurrect the penis so it can impregnate Isis herself. And even resurrected. Not only that, the tomb of Osiris that said move an entire wall. When he was resurrected from his tomb, Jesus only moved a stone. And yet we will argue each other down and fight over this story. These allegories. These are the fundamental principles upon which Judaism, Christianity, and Islam rests. Without them, there is no Judaism, there is no Christianity, and there is no Islam. And that's what we refuse to deal with. We refuse to see, like we said, in blind faith. I know there was something before, but this got to be better and different. Yet it was before. What are you talking? I know there's a hole there, but I'm going to play like it isn't there until I break the neck. And that's what we want to do. Yet, within all of these constructs, we said that truth, godliness and truth are the same things, we say. Then in the face of truth, make your godly change. No one said to you that you got to give it up. But wherever you deal with it, or make the distinction between that which is belief and that which is reality. And we can't make the distinction between something real and something belief. Let's go back to other fundamental principles in what I'm speaking about in terms of our religiosity, or, I prefer, our spirituality. When the Africans along the Nile, for instance, one of the common names used by many of the pharaohs for a long period of time was son of the sun, SOS, like they say of our ship. And a pharaoh was known as the son of the sun, the S-O-N of the S-U-N. Because Ra was the symbolic god symbolized by the sun. The ancient Africans alive long did not believe the sun was the god, the deity, but the sun was symbolic of the deity. What it meant? That if you want to know what the deity was like, it is like the sun. He was like the sun. They would say, just as the power of the sun, so plus is the deity. Ra, which was the god of the south, Amen, the god of the north. Amen, the people in the north that worship Amen, their leader was a man called Scorpion, a king. as I said before, in the south was a man called Nama or Mena. Sometimes he is also said to be named Aha. The reunification of Egypt, because Egypt was a state before it broke up into two, but the reunification of Tawi, the north and the south, the two lands, at a place called Memnefa, where the fight went on, the battle of the north against the south, or the south against the north, before the south defeated the north, Nama defeated Scorpion. It is then that Ra and Amen, again another lie. Amen means so be it. Who said so? When did Amen become so be it? Amen was the god of the north. But when Nama defeated Scorpion, he took the two god concept, joined them in together, thus you had Amen-Ra, Amen-Ra, one. Later, Amen-Ra became Amun-Ra, A-M-U-N-Ra. And then Amun-Ra was used as the principal god above all other gods until the coming of Akhenaten in the 18th dynasty, who changed it to Aten. I must re-emphasize, there is no Allah and there is no Jesus yet used. Now all this is going on. Millions of people along the Nile and other parts of the world are worshiping this. After this, another aspect of Africanicity came about. A group of Africans carrying the name Tumul, T-U-M-U-L. You know them as Dravidians. During the time of Thutmose III and before then, leave the continent of Africa, crossed over into the continent of Asia, went on down, captured the nation called Chaldea, changed the name of it to Elam, calling the people Elamites, went on all the way down to a place called today India, took over the Indian River there, name it for General Ganges of Ethiopia, introduced the indigenous people to a religion and religious teachings under the concept of the worship of an African woman called Hathor, who is shown symbolically as a cow called the golden calf by the Jews later. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu priests, the Brahmins, they themselves give credit to the Tumuls, these Africans, these black people in the southern part of India, yet the same people that use the religion of the people that carried it in there still make these people untouchables. But they're right, because we're always claiming everybody, and yet nobody wants us. It is important that we know, when we are going to say which one is right, wrong, or indifferent, we must know all of these facts. You cannot know just a Bible, you cannot know just a Torah, you cannot know just a Quran. You must know all the other works that went on to make those things plus others. When you are going to make a decision with a fight between husband and wife and the children, you have to hear the husband, the wife, and the children. You can't hear either one and then make your decision. You can't read just the Quran and tell me it is the best. Just the Bible, tell me that is the best. Just the Torah, tell me that. Or even just the Book of the Dead. You must have read all of them. And sources that bring them about to make a proper analysis to reach to a proper conclusion. I don't care what the conclusion is, but I want that you have read all the facts available on all sides of the story in order to come to a conclusion. If this is being, and many people say, I don't like this religion, I attack. If this is attacking, I'm going to keep attacking. But if this is sent to ask you to read, to check all things before you make the decision, I think that then you are not dealing with blind faith. You're dealing with an intelligent conclusion. You see, we are such, and a convert is the hardest person to deal with, because the convert is disillusioned and leaving some place. Oh, and scared to be further disillusioned in a new place. Thus would see the errors that he or she have not overlooked at the last place will overlook now, because they're saying, damn, I just left this one and this here proved no better. I am sure that when you leave one religion to the next, you don't get anything. You don't get anything new. You're still in the same belief. See, if you go from Judaism to Christianity to Islam, God still ain't gonna give you a woman. God or goddess still ain't gonna do nothing for you, not give you a job. I sometimes I listen and somebody say, look, I went to the Lord last night and he gave me $5. I woke up and there were $5 I'm living in. You leave the damn $5 in the tip living room and you put something on it one day and something move it off and there was the damn $5. Where they got a printing press in heaven, or where heaven is, if God, and you got such a contact, call him up right now, and let him talk to me. Let's stop driving with each other. We have to deal with the reality of life. Now, if in the concept of the deity, and we are talking about the faith, I have no problem with a person relying on certain faith, because I myself have faith. If you got a woman and you got to go 1,000 miles from her, you have to have faith. Otherwise your mind is in a lot of trouble. And that goes vice versa, of course. That's faith. If I cross the street from this side of the street to the next, based upon how you fellows are driving, you got to have faith. That is that I believe that nothing is going to happen to me given a certain condition with a certain sense of rationality. The rest got to be faith. Because if I'm dependent, when they come with me in an automobile and I'm flying all over the place, you know, I got faith when I jump in the airplane and strap myself in the electric chair. That's faith. I got faith that cracker will fly that plane direct, that the captain and the co-captain, the pilot aren't going to argue about who going to France and who going to Germany at the same time. They got to agree that they're going to the same place. Now that's faith, because I ain't got no control over it. That's faith, blind faith. I got no choice. But if I got a choice and I got a 38 and say you're going to Cairo, both of you, that ain't no more faith. That's a gun. He going to Cairo. That, you see what I'm dealing with? One has to deal with the reality. So although we deal with the input of what goes into the thing, we also deal with the rationality we're talking about. The detail as to whether one eat or drink or don't eat pork or this, that's another thing that has got clear. The ancient Egyptian not only ate pork, particularly on December 25th, but they used medicine made of pork fat. I suggest that you take up a copy of the Ebers Papyrus and a number of other papyri and saw where the ancient Egyptians used fat, melted fat, especially to make the capsules and to use for health measure. Again, if you don't want to eat pork, okay. But even Quran said what? Quran said, if you were hungry, couldn't get anything to eat, and it was going to threaten your life, and the only thing was there was piggy wiggy, put him down your stomach if it's even raw, and save your life. That's Quran. Not eating pork has nothing to do with God. It's a disciplinary thing. It's a disciplinary thing. Because Quran said your life is most important. But some of us, we go overboard with anything. A man come and see me now. I never ate chops and things like that till I became a big man, because I'm born in a Hebrew family. But people see me eating, and I got a nice chop on the table, they're going to tell me, what you eating? They ain't blind, I eating pork. And I paid for it. If you don't want me to eat pork, I wouldn't eat filet mignon. You pay for it, I eat it. So anything you don't want me to eat pork, come with me, buy my food. You don't want me to eat meat, come with me, buy my food. Then I eat it when you're not there. To talk about these extraneous things, which mean not what is the basic fundamental principle of Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and what the Africans taught about. What the Africans taught about in the religiosity, and they make science a part of the religiosity, law, engineering. All of this were part of the teaching of the priests. It's the priests who ran the society, being taught in every element of man's society. The priest was the doctor, the lawyer, the engineer, the butcher, whatever it was. It is the priest that conducted that training. That's why it took 40 years to train a priest. In these papyri, we come now to a thing that's going to get me in a lot of trouble. Bring it up. But trouble is all I ever had. The ancient priesthood was in charge of two aspects that govern the concept of feeling, to thinking, and so forth. One was astrological, that dealt, and one was astronomical. Astronomy dealt with the complex measure of distances, one body to the next, in terms of, spherical dimension, the stars, the moon, the sun, and so forth. Astrology, dealt with the physical aspect of the movement of these heavenly bodies. Let me be more specific. Astronomically, the moon and the sun, for example, are in different locations at different time of the month and different time of the year. the measurements and placing of these bodies, stars, etc., is our astronomical calculation, therefore astronomy. On the other hand, for example, when the moon is farthest away from the sun, like now, the temperature, because the sun does not have the heat, the moon does not get the heat, and the earth, for example, does not get the heat because it's farther away, therefore it gets cooler until it gets colder and cold. That's the astrological effect. Thus we have astrology. It has nothing at all to do with whether Charles was born in January and was making love to Mary in June. Got nothing at all to do. That is Greek mental illness. The Greeks are the one that introduced that. Not one single Egyptian or Nile Valley African had anything at all to do with that madness. I know I told you I'm going to make a lot of enemies. Because a lot of you ain't going out at your house tomorrow unless you consult Mary Jane and her sloppy chart. You're not going to marry nobody unless you're not even going to bed with anybody without consulting the chart. I saw a sister the other day who was with a man and they had the proper chart. It was perfect. I saw again and she had 2 pounds of steak on her eye. And I said, what happened? That son of a bitch hit me in my eye. And he was a perfect relation. They had taken the chart and had it done by Slapsy Maxie and everybody else. Now, she couldn't go with me because we were born in the wrong signs. You see what I mean? But I've never hit a woman yet. I hit my little daughter when they were small and up to a certain age. I'll whack them with a little fanny and so forth, and I'll give them a little whack, but I ain't hitting my mama. You know what I mean? I don't deal with that. So she was better off with me, even though I was the wrong sign. But that again, no, all of that, and then we come in religion and terms of numbers in the church, calling out the hymn number so and so and all this kind of thing, and go to Egypt and bring you holy water. What are you talking about, holy water? The man takes some palm, burn the palm, make ashes, throw it in the water, strain the water out, sell you the damn water and ashes. I could do some good in the water and sell you, and for cheaper than that. And it has the same effect. As a matter of fact, it smells sweeter. But no, you're mad with me because it got you to believe, to keep you enslaved. You talk about being enslaved. This is to enslave you because you believe that this water, which you catch in the cup, more than the water in your tap, is going to do some magical thing for you. It hasn't done for him. If it did, he wasn't going to sell you any of it. He going to keep it all for himself. And this is what we mean. We got to understand that these factors, the comparative analysis between whether it's Judaism, Islam, Christianity, or the ancient religion, Egyptians or Nubians or folk practice, what are these things for? They are for your betterment. They are supposed to be designed for your betterment. Whenever they do not act in your behalf, it is time for you to release them and go to something else that would assist you in your betterment. That should be what religion is for. Religion should not be something to tie you down, to handstrap you to the point where you cannot better yourself. There's another major factor Whenever the religion is going to make you and you and you and you and you and me fight each other, whenever religion, I got a daughter, is a Jehovah's Witness, I go to anything she gave, including visit Jehovah's Witness many a time. My son-in-law the other day was going to be a lecturer or whatever they call him. He's going to preach, he'll be now a preaching man. And he was going to move up there. My daughter invited me, I went. I congratulate him, I wish him well. Yet they have never come to any lecture I gave. They cannot come. They're not permitted to come to a lecture I gave. It's worse than that. They don't recognize any of my relationship. It is not good because it wasn't sanctioned by some guy in Brooklyn. But when religion is going to make children and parents and other loved ones part because of their obligation, then is that helping you? Oh no, I can't see that. I can't see why it make a difference if a black sister comes up, an African sister, and she is Jewish, she is Muslim, she is Christian, she is Buddhist. It don't make a difference to me. That got nothing to do with I'm going to marry her or go with her. If she is a good woman, that is the criteria, not how she prays. And then does it make a difference if I got a Magen David or I got a crescent or I got a cross, but I didn't support my child? And I'm making oodles and noodles of money, but I got all these things, and I tell you, man, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, brother, I follow Malcolm, and what big deal?
I just dey feel myself, they get it waiting and they see myself, and sometimes